Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 INs: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. I'm sitting here on a cold Monday morning, struggling to get the heat going here. So luckily, I have a guest with me today who happens to be in high summer. So I'm hoping that she will send some warmth over my way. So without further ado, it is time to welcome Katharine here today. How are you, Katharine? Tell us a bit about you.
I'm fabulous, and yes, it's quite warm here, but it's supposed to be warm in the US on the 4th of July and thereabouts. So, um, a little bit about me. So, not going to give you a resume. I'm just going to tell you that I spent 30 years in the corporate world, climbing the ladder, raising my daughter, and I think most people would have described me, and probably still would, as very successful and capable and dependable. And yet, what they couldn't see is that I spent my entire life feeling and believing that my worth and being worthy of love and care came from being successful and achieving. And I did that for 30 years. I married an emotionally abusive narcissist, and that didn't help things. And eventually, I left corporate America. I left that abusive marriage, and I became a meditation and mindfulness teacher. And you know how they say hindsight is 2020? I realized my life wasn't about changing careers. It was about becoming who I had been the whole time. And I was actually confident enough to do that.
Hmm. The word that just came to me when you said that was coming home to yourself, to your true self, and thank you for sharing that. And again, it shows. Both you and I know how common this is, and how we can pretend to be what we are not because we're conditioned, I think maybe by society, that you need to have a career and you need to have a husband and you need to be successful and all of that, and then we're compromising who we are. So a big kudos and congratulations to you for actually making that change, which I think many people unfortunately don't. But maybe from listening to us here today, that might inspire some people to do that. So I look forward to hearing a bit more about that journey. Let's start. Since this podcast is called Mental Fitness, I love hearing my guest's version of what mental fitness is to them.
Well, and let's be clear, it did take me 30 years to figure out to get to this place. So, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I hated what I was doing. It was just, I don't regret any of it. I needed all that experience to get me where I am now, and I'm very grateful for that. In terms of mental fitness, I don't feel like it's just about thinking positively. What is that? There's that book, Think and Grow Big or whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? Um,
I think so. Think and Grow Rich, or
yes. And that whole law of attraction and manifestation, and But just that's a whole other thing. But just being positive and having a positive outlook isn't for me enough about being mentally fit.
Mm,
It's about creating enough internal safety
mm,
that I'm able to use my best thinking, putting my best thinking cap on
mm,
because I feel safe internally. It's not about controlling my thoughts. It's about creating conditions where healthier thoughts just they appear naturally because I'm in a safe place internally.
mm. Beautiful. Love that. And it kind of ties in to my definition as well, because I'm really glad you talked about it's not just about positive thinking. So for me, mental fitness is the ability to meet our challenges in a positive way without stress, worry, anxiety, and all of those things that comes often with that package. So it's like a different way of saying it. So beautiful. Thank you for that. And yes, 30 years is fine, you know. As they say, there are no quick fixes. And I did write a book back in time called The Quick Fix to Any Problem, only to realize that there is no quick fix. And that's the quick fix. But let's not get sidetracked here. So
That's easy to do.
it was fun writing that book, actually. And going through that process. So we're here to hear stories, and I know
Ah,
that you love telling stories. So we want to hear stories, and related to mental fitness, but we want to hear stories from both sides of the coin, like some of those stories where things did not go too well. And by the sound of it already, you got a few of those. And the reason it didn't go well was because the mental fitness just wasn't high enough in that moment to meet those challenges. And of course, the other side of the coin are those successes that you've created and the stories of that and the mental fitness that came along with that. So I will let you choose what side of the coin you want to start.
ooh, ooh. Let's start with the let's start with the sad story.
Yeah, let's do that. So we'll finish on a happy
Ooh.
note.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I would, as I mentioned before, everybody thought I had it together. And in fact, I remember looking at a picture from a family gathering of me and my family before everything fell apart. And I'm standing there, big smile. Everybody thought I was this great corporate, I called myself Miss Corporate Kick-Ass because I just, people knew that I would get things done, and everybody thought that I just had it all together. I had the perfect career, I had the perfect family, I had the perfect house, the whole bit. But inside, I didn't have, wasn't emotionally fit. And because I wasn't always confident on the inside, I ended up marrying a man who was emotionally abusive. And that didn't help my confidence level because I was second guessing myself. I was literally afraid to say anything
Mm,
at towards the end because I never knew what was going to set off the rage. Um, what I did do was try harder. I tried to fix everything. I was over functioning and I was ignoring my intuition I knew something was wrong. I explained away every red flag. I became, like I said, super productive. But the flip side of that was I cried every single day for years, literally like 7.5 years. Nobody knew. At
Mm,
the end of the day, I was sobbing. I was making myself what I thought smaller and quieter because that felt safer
mm,
in the environment that I had created. I also stopped believing my own eyes. And the biggest damage of all of that wasn't losing my confidence. It was losing that trust in myself.
mm,
And I didn't trust myself to make a decision or to believe my own ears and eyes and intuition. And fortunately, I had enough.
mm,
I reached the point where I had enough.
mm,
And one day, and I'm not saying that you have to do this,
mm,
I blew it all up. Like I took an atom bomb and was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I had been saying that for years on and off, like, hey, I want to fix this. Hey, because that's who I was in my career. My career was my safe place. And
mm,
I was, hey, I could fix anything, I could do anything. And so I was trying to apply the same thing at home, and that wasn't working. And I, I, I don't even think it was any one thing. It was just, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I have to get back to doing the things that I know will take care of me.
mm. And how
And
old was your child at that point?
she was 14.
14. Mm.
And that she was, I mean, that was not easy for her either. There were times when, I remember driving her one time to therapy because you know, she needed help too. I'm taking care of her. And she just said, "Hey, mom, I think you need to go to therapy too. I think you're depressed." Out of the mouths of babes. I was like, "Thank you, honey. I need to take care of you." And she goes, "But mom, you always say to put the oxygen mask on yourself first." I'm like, "Okay, this is a mom win." But um, I mean, that was hard to, you know, it was hard to do that and blow that all up and explain that. But you know what? Kids know more than you realize.
Mm,
They know. They
mm,
know when something's off. And she knew something was off.
mm.
So, but that was the beginning for me to really connect. So now here's the happy story.
I'll let you come to that in a moment. It's not that I want
What's
to milk the bad story or the
Oh,
sad
okay.
story, but
Okay.
I want to just inject around the mental fitness part of that. So this is a really interesting one for me because it wasn't that, or it doesn't appear to me like that you were not mentally fit. Because you had the mental fitness required to be successful in business. Like you was a corporate kick ass, and you could kick ass uh, in that environment. So you had the mental fitness in that environment. Whereas in your
Yes.
home environment, the mental fitness wasn't strong enough in order for you to meet the challenge there, and you chose to sort of back off and go into your own space, and then with the tears and the grief and deal with that in that way. So. I'm curious if you can elaborate a little bit more of how did you take the kick-ass, corporate kick-ass into the home kick-ass?
Well, I would also say that some of it was starting to blend as well because because of that, because of my mental fitness struggles at home, and they became more and more severe, shall we say. I was also starting to question my ability at work
Uh, uh,
because I mean, how could you not,
mm,
right? Like it's easy and it's lovely if we can compartmentalize things which without one touching the other. Like don't let that food touch that food on the plate like we're kids,
mm,
but they're going to touch.
mm,
And they did. So how did I bring Miss, corporate kick-ass back to the front? I came this close to having a complete breakdown
mm,
after, I mean, 12 years
mm,
in this relationship. And of course, think about it. It didn't start like that.
mm,
And it wasn't that I didn't question things over the years because I certainly did.
mm,
But there was a point where I was like, I, I can't live like this anymore, or I'm not gonna live. That was where I got to.
mm,
And I had quit my corporate job at the request of my abuser, which sent a whole lot of other, that was a whole other situation. I had worked since I was 16. And this was the first time that I wasn't working. And that also didn't help my
mm,
confidence level and my mental fitness because I didn't have a place to go
mm,
recharge that anymore, that was part of the purpose of getting me to leave
mm,
was to put me in a situation where I didn't feel confident in any situation because at work I always felt confident.
mm, mm,
So what came to a head was one day I was like I can't live like this anymore
mm,
or I'm not going to live and I have to go.
mm.
And of course, that started a whole other chain of events as you might imagine.
Absolutely. I'm quite curious about that moment. Like, can you go back to that moment when you made that decision and what happened just after? Like what was the next few seconds or minutes after that moment of making that decision? I'm curious about that.
It's interesting you ask that because the moment that I made that decision, I felt safe again
Mm, mm,
because, and we talked about this a little bit about, right, internal safety. And when we are safe and our nervous system, right, our inside self feels safe and we feel safe with ourselves, when we get overwhelmed, we can make decisions from a clearer place. When we get stressed and we don't feel safe, our brain, our reptile brain, isn't looking for wisdom or clarity. You can't, you you don't get stupider when you're under stress. You just lose access
mm,
to the clarity to make choices.
mm,
So the more regulated and more balanced we become, the better your decisions come. And when in that moment, you were asking about that moment, I had been living in a state of fear, fear of backlash, fear of some kind of punishment, whether that was silent treatment or, you know, gaslighting or whatever kind of emotional and mental abuse, right? I had been living in that place for so long. And when I finally was like, I'm done,
mm, mm,
it was like I mentally picked myself up by my bootstraps
mm,
and was like, yeah, you don't get to do that anymore. I'm good. I'm not afraid of you anymore.
mm.
And that was the moment.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. And I think that clarity, like now when we get to that moment, you got to a moment of clarity. It would be my interpretation. It's became clear to you that this is no longer acceptable. Like, and in that clarity, there is a shift. And that's why I was
Yes.
curious about what that shift was for you, because it's different for all of us in different situations. But it comes with something. It comes with not only the clarity, but it comes with a drive. It comes with an energy to then go and do what needs doing that you didn't have the courage to do before because the mental fitness wasn't there. So it's like almost like the mental fitness just got turned on in that in that mo
Yeah.
it just came back because you had it in the corporate world. You probably had it as a teenager. You probably had it as a child along the way, by the sound of it, and then it got eroded because of
Mhm.
the circumstance you landed yourself in. And it's not that the mental fitness was gone. It was just no longer accessible, as you just said. Like it's still there, and I believe that. I believe we're all born completely mentally fit, from from day one, and then it
Yes.
gets eroded. And congratulations to you for refinding that in that moment. So let's hear what happened from there.
And you know what? Before we go any further, I also want to say I don't regret that experience
Mhm.
because that experience gave me the inspiration to
Mhm.
do, to move forward and to have more understanding and compassion for people who have been through something like that. I never really understood it before, and now I do.
Mhm.
And I am grateful for that education, shall we say. Um, so what did I do after that? Well, um, I started a co-working business. Uh, and that I started that, before I blew everything up, probably about a year or so before, and was told, "Oh, you don't know how to run a business. You don't know how to do that. Like, I'm going to have to help you, blah, blah, blah." And I built that from zero, and it's been running for 11 years. It's been profitable since 6 months in. And but interesting. I do love doing that work, but where I really came together was when I decided as I was going through my own healing process, I was looking for anything and everything that would help me to heal. And of course, when we're trying to go through something like that, we want it to be like that overnight. And yeah, that's not going to happen. And but I was uh you know, took some workshops, I was reading all these books, I was, you know, therapy and group sessions and meditation.
Mm,
And up to that point in my life, I had tried to meditate multiple times over the years and never been successful. And then I discovered the meditation app, the free meditation app, Insight Timer. I don't know how I found it, but I did. And within a month, I knew, like, oh my gosh, I need this. I need this. And I was looking for meditations specifically to help me heal from this particular type of situation. And there weren't that many. In fact, there was precious little. There still is very little uh, to help people heal from this particular situation. And that inspired me to become a meditation teacher.
mhm,
I was just like, there needs to be more of this because there are people like me that need this.
mm,
All right, I'm going to go do it because that's my Miss Corporate Kick-Ass hat getting kicked on because I was healing. I was feeling, if we want to go back to the mental fitness, right? I was feeling safe
mm,
and safe enough to go and create
mm,
something new for me. And by doing that, it also, I mean, yes, I was helping myself, but I was inspired to help other people.
mm,
And because I came from that place, I knew that because I came from a place of being successful in corporate America, in being an entrepreneur and healing and taking care of myself and coming back like the phoenix rising from the ashes.
mm,
That was I wasn't asking how I could be successful again. That was definitely not the question.
mm,
It was I'm taking care of myself. I feel safe and everything is easy and comes to me as it should.
mm. Awesome, as they say over this way. Uh, Quite a few things in there I would like to sort of pick on a little bit because there's so many gems in that sharing, Catherine. No, one of them was no regrets. Um, Something that I don't know when I learned that, but it's quite a while ago now. And I think it when I realized that no matter how bad things get, if you can get through it, it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you more mentally fit. So I learned fairly early on that lesson. So I've had the privilege for a long time to be able to say I have absolutely no regrets in my life. So thank you for popping that in, and that in itself also requires a certain level of mental fitness to
Mhm.
come to that place. And yes, we want things. Well, now we're back to my book again. I don't know why that keeps coming up. The quick fix to any problem, and like there is no quick fix. Only. Like the only quick fix I found was understanding that there is no quick fix. That's the quick fix because in that moment you can completely let go. You can completely let go and accept that this life is not about getting anywhere. It's about being here and living in this moment. So in that sense, there is a quick fix, but it just seems not to be quick to get to the quick fix. So, so now I'm back rambling again. Uh, and meditation. And I want you to talk a little bit more about that because it came into my life about a good 30 years ago. And then I became a meditation teacher like yourself. And these days I don't call myself a meditation teacher at all. But I use it I use it in my own life, obviously. But I use it with all my clients and finding ways to make it work in this modern world at the high speed pace that most people are running at. And I realized I couldn't get people to stop and take half an hour to sit down on a cushion to meditate. So I reinvented meditation. This is again, nearly well over 20 years ago, into what I call meditation snacking and getting people to snack on meditations throughout the day. And that people could do and could get the benefit from. So I would love to hear like your take on that and how you use meditation and how you used it in your own life and how that affected your mental fitness along the way.
I love that snacking. I love that idea because I actually, that's what I do for myself. And it started when I was at the beginning part of my healing process, because I would get something would come up and it would stir up feelings. And I would be in a situation where it wasn't appropriate to have a breakdown or, to not be getting something done. And I wanted to, it's important, let me say, it's important to validate and recognize our emotions, and they have a job to do.
Mm,
They are messengers for
mm,
us in my mind. Um, so, but there's a time and a place.
mm,
And sometimes it was not the time or the place. And so I would excuse myself, just one moment, please. And I would go somewhere. I would go to the bathroom or do whatever. And I would breathe. I would do some breath work
mm,
for 2, 3, 4 minutes, enough to regulate myself again, bring me to a place of comfort and safety or relative,
mm,
maybe not completely safe, but relatively safe. And then I could go back. And that habit has stuck with me. And
mm,
it's something that I love to tell people that when you're in between tasks, right? Or you're going from one meeting to the next, or you're in an airport and you're waiting at the gate to get on to the flight. Just sit, just stand in a corner and close your eyes and breathe. Or for me, the big clue is if I ever hear myself asking the question, okay, what do I need to do next? Because, right, we all have lists of things to do. And I get one done and I go, okay, what do I do next? Next is a pause.
mm,
And maybe it is where I live, there's a lovely multi-use path right outside the building. And I will put in my earbuds and go for a 15 to 20 minute mindful walk where I'm not listening to music. I'm focusing on my senses. I'm focusing on being present
mm,
and in the moment and appreciating everything around me, which is getting me grounded
mm,
and right, which again is helping to regulate my nervous system, allow me to feel safe. So when I come back, great. Now, if I don't have time for that, okay, I might just sit at my desk and breathe
mm,
for a few minutes, focusing on my breath for just a few minutes or some specific kind of breath work practice. I always tell people just pause. We
mm,
have these moments all day, every day. Afterwards, when I would be waiting to pick up my daughter from, dance or choir or whatever, instead of sitting in the car and doom scrolling or doing something else on my phone, I would turn on a meditation and I would meditate until she came out. We all have those moments.
mm,
We just have to recognize them.
mm,
And so you call them snacking. I call them gaps. Look for
mm,
the gaps where you can reconnect in whatever way that works best for you.
mm. Great. I love that pause. It's one of my main words as well. Um, and what I'm finding that many people are having difficulties with is to remembering the pause because they are so in that habit. Oh, here's the next task. Here's the next email. Oh, now I'm gonna go to the toilet, and now I'm going into this meeting, and now I'm gonna get in the car driving. And like it's just from one thing to the other. And it seems to me that we have, or many of us have this idea in our head that we have to be on the go all the time to be successful or to be happy or whatever it is. So breaking that pattern to me seems to be it's not that people can't stop and close their eyes and take a deep breath. Everybody can do that. And I get people to do that in front of me, and I give them four, five, six different kind of things they can do in that little pause that takes anywhere from 5 seconds to a minute. And everybody, yeah, I can do that. But the difficulty seems to be to recognize that I need to do that. So I have clients coming back and say, oh, shit, I just went for 3 days and I didn't do any of that. I completely forgot. So I'm wondering whether you have some tricks or things from your own experience. How did you come to a place to where you could actually remember to do those gaps, to do those snacks?
Well, you might call it cheating, or you might just call it like, oh, I'm organizing my day. I put reminders
Mm,
in my phone.
mm,
I had reminders in my phone. They're still there
mm,
4 times a day.
mm,
And it doesn't mean that I'm automatically in that going to be able to in that moment to do whatever,
mm,
but it's a reminder.
mm,
And it's just a little ping. That's it. It's just a little ping. I'm like, oh, it's kind of like, how your watch will say, oh, you should get off your butt, get out of your chair
mm,
because you haven't been standing up enough in the last hour. Your watch will do that.
mm,
This is the same, this is no different.
mm,
So maybe if you attach, oh, to this, you need to stand up message to you need to take a breath message or a pause at the same time, I mean, that was my way, just a little ping.
And I certainly wouldn't call that cheating at all. I would call that being smart. Like we've got all this damn technology, and so why not use it? So and I think it's a great way of starting for many people maybe listening to this, going, "Oh, where do I start?" Make some pings that just remind. It's just a reminder. Oh, I'm gonna pause, and I may not be able to pause right now because I'm in the middle of the meeting or middle of writing something really important. But maybe that ping, then when I'm finished with that, that's where we'll have that pause. So what I'm encouraging people to do is to simply get into a pattern where you always have a pause between tasks. Every single change or task you're doing, you must stop. You must take one conscious breath and then you can carry on. Or you may choose in that moment to take another conscious breath or close your eyes and listen or make a 5 minute meditation, listen to a 5 minute meditation stuff or go for half an hour walk. I mean, you choose, but just make that one breath between every single task because it actually doesn't take any extra time because you might have to move from one place to another anyway. So investing those 7, 8, 9 seconds in that for me is an investment that you're gonna get back many times in less stress, less mistakes, less frustration, because we're taking a time just to reconnect with who we are, coming into that safe place. So that's my thoughts on that.
I was gonna also say because I think we both help people that are um highly successful and very motivated. Um, Here's the key for me is that calm is strategic.
Mhm.
And it's so fun. There's a movie from the 1940s, and I've seen it a few times. And I know the first few times I saw it, uh, there's a scene where the uh, secretary comes into a executive's office and he's got calming music at the desk and he's sitting quietly with his eyes closed and he says, "This is the meditation hour." I remember seeing that. It didn't, years ago, it didn't click in my head, but I saw it a few years ago and I was like, whoa, really? Okay. This is a successful executive in the 1940s. Yes, it's Hollywood. I get that. But demonstrating that this hour is sacred because that calm creates the ability to respond with clarity.
Mhm.
And I think that is the piece that is more meaningful
Mhm.
to a lot of successful people
Mhm.
when if they can see the results of being more regulated and having more calm. And it doesn't happen overnight.
Damn.
Dang it.
Dang it. No, no, it doesn't. And any reasonable, intelligent human being can understand that because you don't become a great tennis player overnight, you don't become a great business person or salesperson overnight either. Like anything that you want to be good at is going to take practice. And like I really don't like that word, but it's like I don't like practicing. I mean, let me be honest here. I don't like practicing. Um, but if there's anything I want to be good at, then I know I have to practice. So then I do. And that again, I think comes back to what we talked about earlier, like about having the clarity of what is it, who is it I want to be, and what is the kind of life I want to experience. And out of that clarity, then yes, no, if you want to be healthy, you have to do some exercise. Like you just have to exercise. So if you want to be healthy on your mind, you have to do some mind exercises. And we can call that meditation. We can say go into the mental fitness gym, which term I started using because I love the term mental fitness. So let's go to the gym and the cool thing is that the membership to most of those gyms is free. No, you just need that ping on the phone and then stop and take a deep breath. That's your mental practice. And if you can do that 10, 15, 20 times a day, which is really, really easy once you get into it, it's going to
Hmm.
make a massive difference to your life.
Yeah, this isn't about being perfect. It's
Oh,
just about being present.
mm,
I'm I like to say, or I shouldn't say I like to say, I'm known for saying that I spent the first 40, 50 years of my life in my head.
mm,
Not because I wasn't looking for other things along the way, because I was, but I always trusted this.
mm,
And we can get very disconnected from our bodies and our emotions when we're here all the time.
mm.
There's a we need both. We need all of it.
Need all of it.
We need yeah.
And at some level, like at, when you went through what you just shared with us before, it's like you had to, in order for you to survive in that, you had to come into your head. In the body was too painful with what you were
Mhm.
experiencing. And since you had by the sound of it success in your education and that and then in the corporate world, you knew you could trust this. And that's where you went for your
Mhm.
safety. And
Yep.
then somewhere along the way, you luckily came to the realization that that just won't do. That won't do. I need, and you said earlier on, emotions, we say emotions are messengers, and I really love that. So it's not, people think, oh, it's about getting rid of all these emotions we don't like. Well, good luck on that. I don't think it's about, it is for me, it's not about getting rid of them. It is about being able to listen to the message. And that's where mental fitness really kicks in. Because it takes a high level of mental fitness to just stop and listen to this discomfort that we might be feeling in this emotion. It might be guilt, or it might be anger or frustration or anxiety that we're feeling in the body. And it takes a certain amount of mental fitness to be able to go, oh, okay, I'm just going to stop doing what I'm doing here. I'm going to sit and just feel into this mess. And I mean, that's how I got rid of depression. It took me a long time, but I eventually kicked depression completely out of my life by just learning to go into the feel, not trying to figure anything out, you know, because I was pretty good at figuring things out here, but I wasn't very good at figuring out things here. And I've been with my wife now for 35 years. For the first many years, she kept telling me, get out of your head and into your heart. And I say, huh? What do you mean by that? It took me a while to, and I'm still on that process, but she hasn't said that to me for a number of years. So I must be making progress.
Well, and it's interesting that, for years I thought that my strength came from that I could get through anything.
Hmm.
And now it's become the real strength is knowing when to pause,
Mm,
knowing when to listen to yourself and receiving that message and choosing different. And
mm,
every single teeny tiny or big choice strengthens our mental fitness.
mm, mm. Absolutely. So, coming towards the end of our conversation today, you kind of answer my next question is always, how did you grow? Give us some examples of how you specifically grew your mental fitness along the way, whether it was reading a book or picking up a meditation app, or whether it was just through hardship and everything fell apart and you pulled yourself through that and that grew your mental fitness. So you already shared this. Anything else you want to chip in there that whether it's right back in your teenage or early on before you got into that relationship or child or with you having a child, it doesn't really matter. Is there anywhere along the way where you can give us an example of your mental fitness growing?
I would say it came in small pieces,
Ah.
but when I was a child, my mother was a hippie, and we went through um she went through her own exploration of beliefs and religions. And of course, I was along for the ride because I'm a kid. And the thing that I took away from that was being open to other beliefs and being exposed to many different beliefs and religions and dogmas, and not really understanding them as a child, but at least having that exposure.
Hmm.
And when I got older and I was on my own spiritual journey, if you will,
Mhm.
I I took workshops and learned a different way of mindful journaling, which is what I wrote my first book
Mm.
um, about mindful movement, about learning more about my breath and regulation. It wasn't just any one thing. It were it was all these little teeny tiny things that I experienced,
Mm.
and they all kind of all of a sudden came together
Mm.
when I was going through my own healing. So all the things that I had read and all the practices that I had tried came together
Mm.
and coalesced. And that was it. It wasn't just meditation. It wasn't just journaling. It wasn't just breath. It was all of these things.
Mm.
And I think that's the beauty for me anyway. I think that's the beauty of mindfulness
Mm.
is that it takes so many different forms.
Mm.
I can recognize that when I go cycling and I'm completely in my zone and I'm very much in my body and very much in my breath, that's a form of mindfulness.
Mhm. Mm.
So being able to recognize that we have that gift all around us
Mm.
in any way we want, I love that. So
Mm.
it wasn't any one thing, it was the accumulation of all of those things over the years.
Mm. And I can definitely relate to that as well. Um, no, I like you, I've tried so many different things in the last 40 years, and I'm still trying different things to this day. I think maybe that's a good message to get across to people listening here as well. It's like I normally say, find what works for you right now, and then when it doesn't work any longer, find the next thing. Because no
Yes,
matter what you find, in my experience, no matter what you find, it's not going to work forever. I
hmm
like either you're going to get bored with it or the mind is going to get bored with it. and make it not work after a little while, and then we need something else. So I think that's a part of the moral of the story here is uh, keep going, keep looking, keep finding ways of growing your mental fitness, simply because it makes for a happier and more fulfilling life. And somebody said to me some time ago, it took me a little while to digest that, and it was like there is no upper limit to happiness. So you can't get to a place where this is a max happiness that you can experience as a human being because there's going to be more happiness available beyond that. And it took me a little, I was sort of just sitting there with that and say, huh, is that a true statement or not? And at the end of it, I couldn't poke a hole in it. It was like, I think that is possibly a true statement. So if that's the case, let's keep moving. Let's keep growing. What are your thoughts on that?
Huh, I don't think I would be here doing what I'm doing now if I wasn't constantly growing and changing
Mm.
and evolving. Uh, I think we have to do that or we just expire.
We go
I, 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 I,
we go backwards,
I,
in my opinion. Like we go backwards. Like it seems that whoever invented us have invented us in a way that when you get to a state of being physically fit, if you stop exercising, you're going to become unfit. That's not fair. Like you have to keep exercising to be fit. If you want to be healthy, you can't eat yourself into health and then start eating crap from there on and then stay healthy. So it seems that the message giving to us at all levels is that there is no time to stop. You have to keep exercising. You have to keep eating. You have to keep meditating. Have to keep growing your mental fitness if you want to be happy. It seems to we seems to be made that. I find it annoying, but it seems to be the reality.
and I don't think of it as in that I have to do it. I think of it more like I get to do this. I get to try something new. I get to do something new. I get to be inspired to
Mm.
do something new. Um, and life would be awfully dang boring if we did the same thing over and over again and we ate the same food over and over again. And I, I, and, and maybe that's just me because I know I like to go try and explore and do new things. But I think you're right when you say that's part of keeping our mental and emotional self healthy.
Mm. That sounds like a good place maybe to round off today. So I don't have to ask my usual last question because you've already answered that. We both answered that many times over. But I would like for you just to maybe share a little bit about your books and where people can find you and the work that you're doing and the people you're working with, just give people a little bit of an idea. I'll make sure to put all your contact details in the description for below so that people can find you. But tell us a little bit more about your books and things you're doing.
Well, I thought about that first book, Inner Affirmations, for 17 years before I actually wrote it. And I finally did it. And it talks about and walks you through the practical application of mindful journaling. Um, you can also, I've got another couple books since then in that same genre or that same focus topic. I am working on a new book right now, which is going to be a little broader.
Mhm.
And, I do have a website, but you will find my work on Insight Timer. I'm also very active on YouTube and LinkedIn. But if you want to see, you know, see more of my smiling face, you can go to YouTube.
Fantastic. We will make sure to put all that in there. Um, any final sort of one of those final things you say at the very end? Anything that comes to mind? Doesn't have to be anything, but
I think the biggest thing is that your mental fitness comes from self-trust, and that comes in small moments
hmm,
every single day.
hmm, brilliant. Thank you so much, Catherine, for being here and sharing your smiley face and your story. No, very, very inspiring story. And
Thank you.
thank you to our audience for tuning in today. I hope that there was something there for you. And if you have been listening to this, there is something there for you. So, as per usual, now go out there and grow your mental fitness in a conscious way. And take a moment, my invitation to just take a few deep breaths after this and ask yourself, what was the biggest takeaway from this conversation today that you can bring into your life? Till next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, mikael.nz, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikael.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is, of course, appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Nielsen.